You are not God. Only He can create a man and woman. If you think you can, you are defying God's plan. The evil Dr. Frankenstein. Care about riches, not your mental health. Deep dive podcast show. Let's dive in. Amen.
Welcome, everyone, to the Deep Dive. Today, we're tackling something incredibly difficult, a really somber subject. We're going deep into the recent tragic shooting in Annunciation Catholic School in Minneapolis.
Yep.
It's crucial we talk about it. Yeah. Our mission today is really to unpack the details. We're going to focus specifically on the alleged manifesto, and there was a video, too, left by the individual identified as Robin Westman. We've got a stack of sources here, mostly reports that have translated parts of this manifesto. Some of it was apparently in Cyrillic, which adds a layer. So our goal is just to navigate all this information, try to bring you some clarity, even though, frankly, the material is deeply unsettling.
Right. And for you, the listener, our aim isn't just, reciting facts or a timeline. It's about trying to understand the reported motivations, what was going on inside this individual's head, at least according to these writings, and also, crucially, how are different people, authorities, the media interpreting all of this? Because those interpretations vary. It's about cutting through some of the noise, connecting the dots where we can, so you can get a more nuanced picture without feeling, completely overwhelmed by it all.
Absolutely. It's heavy stuff, no doubt. But our commitment, as always, is to present the information clearly. We'll use specific details, direct quotes from our sources where it makes sense. We want you to be able to form your own picture, grounded in what's actually being reported. So we'll look at excerpts from the manifesto, descriptions of it, and also how the initial reports framed things. Okay, let's get started. So first, let's just lay out the core facts of the attack itself, the undisputed details that we have from the reports. The date was August 27th, 2025. The location, Annunciation Catholic School in Minneapolis. The individual identified as the perpetrator, Robin Westman, 23 years old. And our sources are specific here, describing Westman as a man who identified as a woman. And the toll is just horrific. 2 fatalities, both children. And beyond that, 17 people wounded. That breaks down to 14 school kids and 3 adults. I mean, the numbers themselves, especially the children. It just casts such a heavy shadow.
It really does. And what's particularly striking and frankly deeply disturbing in these reports is the clear indication this wasn't random. It looks like a planned attack.
Yeah.
With specific targets. The sources point out that the Catholic Mass being held wasn't just any Mass. It was specifically identified as a children's Mass.
Right.
That detail alone is, it's chilling. It suggests calculation, choosing to target the most vulnerable.
A children's mass.
Yeah.
And that premeditation seems to be backed up by a parent quote we found in one source. This parent said, and I'm quoting here, "This person knew this was our first all-school mass of the year. It was obviously planned." So you see, that suggests real foresight, choosing the timing for maximum impact, maximum vulnerability. It wasn't spontaneous.
Right. Not just the place, but the when.
Exactly. And there's another potential layer here. One source notes a prior connection. Apparently, Weston's mother used to work at the school. She retired back in 2021. Now, if that played a role, it could mean Westman had, insider knowledge, familiarity with the layout, the routines, maybe even the schedule for things like this specific Mass.
Sure.
That familiarity could definitely explain the precise timing.
It could. It potentially shifts it from just an attack on a symbolic target to something more intimately planned. Deliberate violation based on that knowledge makes the planning seem even more calculated, potentially.
Okay. The weight of those facts is,
Yeah.
it's immense. But now we need to turn to the manifesto. This alleged manifesto, it reportedly offers this chilling window into the mindset, the motivations. As disturbing as it is, we have to look at it to try and understand the why. So, before the attack, Westman reportedly wrote this manifesto and also posted a video online. This material is now really central to understanding the reported motives, and as I mentioned, parts were in Cyrillic. That's a key detail from our sources. It was a reporter, Diane Narazzi from the New York Post, who apparently did the work of translating some of these pages. And the content itself came from YouTube clips, diary pages from Westman's channel, which has since been deleted. So these weren't just private thoughts that were shared, however briefly.
Right. The translation effort is key here. And what comes out of those translated parts is, it's profoundly disturbing. Explicit hatreds. Our sources quote Westman allegedly writing, and this is a direct quote from the translation, "If I will carry out a racially motivated attack, it would be most likely against filthy Zionist Jews." I mean stark, unambiguous, a clear statement of racially motivated intent against a specific group.
Just laid out right there.
Exactly, and the language doesn't get any better. Other entries reportedly included phrases like, I hate those entitled penny-sniffing dites, explicit antisemitic slurs. The casual use of that kind of vile language in these writings, it really underlines the intensity of the reported hatred.
And that specific type of language, it echoes historical anti-Semitism, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. It's not just generalized anger, it's targeted, dehumanizing language. And what adds another layer of complexity, as reported in our source, is that the journal also apparently contained Free Palestine slogans. Now, it's really important how our source presents this. Those slogans appeared alongside the explicit anti-Semitic statements. That juxtaposition, as reported, is troubling. It suggests perhaps not a coherent political stance, but maybe grabbing onto different slogans or ideas to fuel a pre-existing hatred.
Right, like using a political slogan to mask or justify something darker underneath.
Potentially, it shows how these things can get mixed together in a distorted worldview. It's not always a straight line.
And the manifesto, it reportedly goes beyond just specific hatreds. It paints this picture of profound internal turmoil and this desire for just widespread violence. Sources say Westman allegedly wrote about being suicidal for several years, but, and this is the horrifying part, wanted to take others out with him.
That combination.
Yeah, that interplay of self-destruction and outward aggression. It's not just about ending one life, but the shared violent ending. That shift is critical, isn't it?
It absolutely is. It suggests a mind moving from self-annihilation towards something much more destructive outwardly, a desire for a catastrophic ending, not just for oneself.
And what really stands out and kind of challenges what you might expect from a manifesto is a quote from the journal. Westman allegedly wrote, "I don't want to do it to spread a message. I do it to please myself. I do it because I am sick." I mean, that's incredibly stark. It shifts the motive away from ideology, doesn't it, towards something deeply personal, pathological almost, self-gratification.
Exactly. It's a profound statement. Manifestos are usually about explaining a cause, right? Sending a message to the world. But here, the stated motivation is entirely internal, to please myself. Because I am sick, that self-acknowledged sickness becomes the driver.
And it connects to another reported line. I don't think I could just take myself out. I would need to do something with my final act.
The final act? Yeah. It frames the attack as the culmination, a morbid finale. Not just suicide, but a performance, a violent staging of that internal struggle's end. It gives this twisted sense of purpose to the self-destruction.
And there's this desire for notoriety too, right? It's explicitly mentioned.
Yes. Westman allegedly wrote, I am a sick fuck. I want to kill as many as I can. I want to top the lists. That aspiration, it's chilling. Wanting to top the lists. It's about infamy. Achieving a perverse kind of recognition through the sheer scale of violence.
Like a twisted form of achievement.
Precisely. It's a deeply disturbing theme. We unfortunately see sometimes this grandiosity linked to mass violence. It makes it seem less like an impulsive act and more like a bid for some kind of dark legacy.
And the targets weren't always so specific initially, were they? The journal apparently mentioned a range of people.
That's right. The journal reportedly mentions fantasies about assassinating President Trump and Jews. So you have a high-profile political figure and an entire ethnic group right there. It shows a broad scope of animosity.
But then the focus shifts in this incredibly disturbing way.
It does. According to the reports, Westman ultimately decided that killing children of innocent civilians would bring him the most joy. That specific choice, targeting children for joy. It's just horrifying. It highlights a particular cruelty, a preference for maximizing suffering, not just physically but emotionally.
And there were other targets considered too, like agencies, politicians.
Yeah, the reports mention considering targets like an immigration agency, corrupt politician, executives of greedy megacorps, and Westman reportedly framed these ideas as attempts to honor my family name, which is bizarre and disturbing. It suggests this mix of personal gripes, broader societal anger, but filtered through this distorted lens of like family honor or twisted justice.
A real mix of motivations, it sounds like. Personal, political, pathological.
Exactly. And all seemingly leading towards violence. The planning aspect is also really clear in the reports. The manifesto allegedly mentioned Westman had a voice in his head telling him to buy a gun. That points to internal compulsion, perhaps. But critically, it also reportedly states Westman wanted to attack sooner, but was waiting for school to start back up.
Waiting for school, so not impulsive at all, calculated.
Calculated, patient even, waiting for the specific timing, the specific victims. It speaks to a real commitment to the plan. And there's another detail videos reportedly showed anti-Christian scribblings on the magazines used in the attack. So that adds another layer of targeted hate alongside the anti-Semitism.
Anti-Christian markings, too.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. And what about Westman's identity? The sources touch on that as well, adding another layer of complexity.
They do. Records show a name change from Robert to Robin back in 2020 when Westman was 17. That's a significant point in life for that kind of change. And the journal entries themselves, as reported, they offer glimpses into gender identity exploration, really revealing words. Westman allegedly wrote, "I don't want to dress girly all the time, but I guess sometimes I really like it. I know I am not a woman, but I definitely don't feel like a man."
That sounds incredibly conflicted, a real internal struggle.
Very much so. It expresses this nuanced, maybe unresolved sense of self, being caught between categories. And you have to wonder how much that internal conflict fed into the overall turmoil described. There's another entry mentioned too. "I really like my outfit. I look pretty smart and modest." It gives this snapshot of self-perception.
So you have these moments of, I don't know, almost vulnerability or self-reflection right alongside the extreme violent thoughts.
Exactly. It creates this deeply unsettling psychological portrait. Personal struggles, identity questions, juxtaposed with these horrific plans and hatreds. It makes understanding the why even more complex. It's not simple.
And there were videos too, right? Not just the writings.
Yes, our sources mentioned 2 videos posted online. Apparently, they corroborate some of the things found in the written manifesto. The town hall article mentions them specifically. It adds this multimedia element, suggesting these weren't just private thoughts jotted down, but something documented, maybe even performed for an audience, however small or temporary.
Okay, so bringing all that together, the manifesto, the video, the reported contents, it's a really complex picture.
It really is. Multifaceted, contradictory impulses and beliefs all seem to be swirling around. Explicit hatreds, desire for self-gratification, identity struggles, clear planning. Which leads us to a really important question. How did the authorities and the media react initially? How did they try to frame this complexity? Because that initial framing matters.
It absolutely matters. And our sources really focus on this. Right after the attack, naturally, everyone wants to know the motive. And the initial statement from law enforcement, according to our source, was very direct. The Minneapolis police chief stated, quote, "I have no information to share on a motive," just flat out.
No information to share.
Okay. But then our source adds its own layer of interpretation to that statement. The article claims, "The liberal media and the authorities see no evil here, at least for now." Now, it's really crucial for you, the listener, to understand this is the source's commentary on the situation. It's a critique of that initial no information stance. It suggests a perception, from the source's viewpoint, of an unwillingness to name the motivations.
Right, so the source itself is engaging in interpretation and critique of the initial response.
Exactly. It becomes part of the story, not just what happened, but how it's being talked about.
And this is where we see those contrasting narratives really emerge, particularly in the town hall article we're using. It highlights different media takes. For instance, it reports on CNN's John Miller talking to Jake Tapper. Miller apparently said it's clear Westman didn't have a specific motive and likely never would. He reportedly called the manifesto kind of rambling and said Westman just hated everybody. That view emphasizes a lack of coherence, a sort of generalized, unfocused rage.
So one perspective is, it's too rambling, too all over the place to pin down one motive.
Right. But then the town hall article pushes back hard against that. It argues, essentially, that the media outlets like CNN are trying to frame it as having no motive, but, quote, wanting to kill everyone, essentially, is a motive. The article insists the video evidence is clear and criticizes what it sees as media downplaying things. It directly accuses the liberal media of trying to obscure the reality. The source even has a headline referencing the media's aversion to discuss this, suggesting a deliberate avoidance by some outlets.
So a real clash of interpretations being reported, one side saying too rambling for a specific motive, the other saying the motive is clear, even if broad and hateful, and some media are avoiding it.
Precisely. A clear dichotomy in how the available information, the manifesto, the videos are being characterized and interpreted.
And again, just to be clear for everyone listening, we're reporting on these different characterizations from our source material. Our job isn't to pick a side, But to show you how this information landscape is developing, how the narrative itself is being debated, it's crucial you see those different lenses.
Absolutely. Recognizing those different frames is key to understanding the whole picture.
Okay, so we've laid out the horrific event, the disturbing contents of the alleged manifesto, the identity struggles, the planning, and now these contrasting initial interpretations. Where did that leave us? What does this all start to tell us as we try to connect these threads?
Well, I think first and foremost, it forces us to confront just how complex and frankly contradictory human motivation can be, especially in these extreme cases. How do you square explicit anti-Semitic and anti-Christian hate with this reported drive for self-pleasure, for joy in killing kids, and these broader, maybe less focused resentments against politicians or companies? It really challenges that idea of a single, clean motive. It looks more like a toxic mix, personal issues, pathology, maybe latching onto ideologies as justification.
So ideology might not be the root cause, but more like a tool to rationalize something already there.
It could be. That's something experts often discuss in these situations. And you absolutely cannot ignore the mental health aspect reported here. The self-description of being sick, hearing voices, the suicidal thoughts, that's clearly a huge part of the reported picture. It doesn't excuse the actions or the hatreds, of course not. But it provides vital context for the internal state this violence apparently grew out of. It's likely an interaction between distress and ideology.
Which brings us back to interpreting the manifesto itself. Our sources highlight this challenge. How can it be both rambling, as Miller reportedly said, yet contains such clear, hateful statements? What does that tell us about these documents?
It suggests they aren't always neat explanations. Maybe they're more like a raw data dump from a troubled mind. Parts might be coherent expressions of hate, other parts might be disjointed or contradictory.
And not a clear roadmap.
Not always. And for you, the listener, seeing how it gets interpreted, or maybe not interpreted, as our source alleges in some cases, is key. It pushes us to be critical consumers of information.
And that interpretation battle has real consequences, doesn't it?
Absolutely. How did these initial reports, these diverging narratives, shape how the public understands what happened? If the motive is framed as specific, that leads down one path of discussion. If it's framed as rambling or no motive, that leads somewhere else entirely. It affects how we talk about causes, prevention, everything. The power of that initial framing is immense.
So this deep dive really highlights this awful convergence, doesn't it? Reported mental health crises, violent intentions, targeted hatreds, all coming together with tragic results. It's just a stark reminder of the challenges we face in understanding and hopefully preventing this kind of violence.
It truly is a complex, devastating intersection of factors.
So we've covered a lot today, a really deep dive into a profoundly disturbing event. We looked at the details of the Minneapolis shooting, the chilling contents reported in Robin Westman's alleged manifesto and video, and those initial, often conflicting interpretations from our source material. It's been a difficult exploration, but necessary, guided by the reports we have.
And as we've really emphasized, understanding events like this isn't simple or quick. The information we talked about today is based on early reports, translations. The narrative can, and often does, evolve as more investigation happens. It's a process, not a final answer right now. Requires ongoing attention.
Absolutely. So as you process all of this, maybe consider this question. In a world where we often get access to these raw, sometimes violent declarations online and where interpretations can differ so widely, what's our responsibility? As individuals, as a society, how do we navigate this challenging information? How do we discern, discuss, and ultimately learn? What stands out most to you from this complex mix of reported hatred, personal turmoil, and the debate around motive? Something to think about. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive.
You are not God, only He can create a man and woman. If you think you can, you are defying God's plan. The evil Dr. Frankenstein care about riches, not your mental health. Deep Dive podcast show, let's dive in. Quam dementia tua est, spiritus qui venit a Deo super, orabo prote Deus te amant. A montibus ad campos, ab urbibus ad mare, stamus pro libertate, pro fide et familia. From the mountains to the prairies, from the cities to the sea, we stand for liberty. Nuntiarum non sanitatis mentis tue spectaculum podcast deep dive mergamus quam dementia tua est spiritus qui venita Deo super orabo prote Deus te amat a montibus et campos ab urbibus ad mare stamus pro libertate pro fides bania in every town and village, in every heart and home, we'll uphold our principles, together we'll roam. Through trials and through triumphs, we'll never lose our way, with conservative values leading us day by day. We're diving deep into the heart of what we believe. Conservative values in our souls, they're interweaved. With courage and with honor, we'll hold our ground. For freedom, for tradition, in this land we found. So here's to the brave, to the strong, to the free, to the spirit that binds us from sea to shining sea. We'll dive deep into our values, hold them close and true. For conservative hearts, there's no limit to what we can do. Mergi